My name is Delaney Ramsey, and this is my final assignment for FSW 245 in the form of a Draw My Life. So, what do I know about myself at this age? In infancy and toddlerhood, most of what I know about myself is from my mom. And from what my mom has said, I was very cute, very bubbly, and also cognitively advanced and reached talking milestones faster than other kids. She was a stay-at-home mom and practiced attachment styles, so we became best friends. And at 10 months old, she said that I was very easily able to identify my dad and call him Dada. And it wasn't just babbling, and he was only Dada. Same with my grandpa, who was Dop, and I only called him Dop. And with my dogs, when I wanted them to come here, I was able to say Mir. So how does this compare to typical talking milestones? On the left, we'll have Tommy, the typical talker who reaches all of his talking milestones at a typical time, and then me on the right, and we'll compare these milestones. At 9 months old, Tommy can say dada and other babbling phrases like baba, but not to specific things that mean anything. While on the other hand, me at 9 and 10 months old, I was able to say dada, dop, Mir, and Emma, and assign them to certain phrases and people. According to the Child Growth and Development textbook in class, when you compare the two children, I was developmentally early when it comes to talking. Regarding genetic factors, while I'm not 100% sure what genetically made me a developmentally early talker, my mom did mention that when she was also around the 9-month to 10-month-old mark, she was told that she spoke very similar to me, as in she had short words that she gave meaningful assignments to, like her dad was Dada and only her dad was Dada, and her older brother was Bub. For environmental factors, my biggest influence as to why I was ahead of the typical talking milestone at my age was definitely my mom. She studied child psychology as well as early primary education in college and knew the importance of talking to me while I was at a very young age. So growing up, she was constantly talking to me, whether it was going through what she was doing, what we were doing through the day, or just what we were seeing while we were walking around town. Like I said earlier, she practiced attachment style parenting, so I was constantly with her and again, constantly hearing her talk, even if it wasn't talking directly to me. When I would use my made-up words, even though I had meaning to them like dop, she would always reinforce what I was saying, but use the word that she knew I meant, in this situation, grandpa. I also come from a very long line of teachers. My mom is a teacher, my grandma is a retired English professor, and my grandpa is a retired teacher and principal who taught for 40 plus years. They all knew the importance of talking to me while I was at a very young age in order to promote speaking and speaking well. Moving on to middle childhood, what I know about myself at this age period was a lot from memory and what my mom has told me. And I remember that I absolutely loved reading and I loved school because I was good at it. My mom said she would spend so much money on buying me new books because I would finish about 1 or 2 a month, but she didn't mind because as a teacher, she loved reading and loved that I did. When I went to elementary school, I was placed in the gifted class and always reading above my age level. I would read books at a young age, such as Hunger Games, Harry Potter, Divergent, and Pretty Little Liars. I was also super competitive in elementary school, and I remember distinctly in 4th grade when kids would share their reading level, I would always share that I was reading at a middle school level. Comparing myself to typical reading milestones, we will use the information provided by the Child Growth and Development textbook for our knowledge on typical readers, and we'll be comparing Ryder the typical reader to myself. So Ryder starts to learn how to read in middle childhood, where he is around the age of 6 to 7. Comparing that to myself, I started learning how to read in early childhood. I was reading sight words at 4, sentences at 5, and advanced words and sentences around 6 and 7 when I was starting middle childhood. So when you compare the reading skills of both a typical child and myself, I was reading earlier than typical milestones. How was my early reading and love for reading influenced by genetics? Again, going back to my mom, as I stated in the early childhood section, a lot of who I am is influenced by her. And when she was around my age in middle childhood, she also loved to read and was very advanced at reading. When talking to her and my grandma, we realized a lot of similarities between the two of us and how advanced readers we were. However, I do not think reading is entirely influenced by genetics. When you look at my little brother, when he was entering middle childhood around the age of 7, he was diagnosed with a reading learning disability. While we were always ahead of our age range, my brother at second grade was reading at a kindergarten level. I do think environmental factors play a bigger role in why I was such an advanced reader and why I love to read. Like I stated before, I came from a long line of teachers. My mom was a teacher, and both my grandparents were teachers. They always encouraged me to be reading and be reading above my age level. Thinking back at it, I also came from a pretty competitive school, and I was just a pretty competitive person. I always wanted to be one-upping my classmates in one way or another. My grandpa also wasn't just my grandpa, but he was also a teacher in my elementary school building, so he was Mr. Daringer and became my 5th grade teacher at one point. Income also played a role in it because we were a middle-class family, and my mom was fortunate enough to stay home with us for several years, so she always encouraged me to read and really taught me a lot of what I know about reading and writing.